We've had quite a lot of difficulties with BCG vaccine because of World Health Organization guidance to governments around the world that must be a priority given to human health. We had a significant outbreak of TB in Russia last year. There just wasn't enough vaccine to cater for the increasing demand in that part of the world and some other areas as well. Basically, we had a problem with DEFRA because we had one supplier, a Danish supplier, which was using BCG vaccine, and there was no more supply available. The government couldn't find an alternative, so we basically had a stop on all Badger vaccination effectively in Wales and in England, and that continues, but there are some developments, and Debbie's going to give us some idea of that, and Tom as well. Thank you.
Hi again, everybody. I've not got any funny stories for you this time, I'm afraid, because there hasn't been that much happening. It's just really, I can just give you an update on where we're up to and what we've been doing while we've been waiting for the government and DEFRA to get back to us, which has taken around 6 months for even a reply. Some of you might not be shocked by that, but I've worked really closely with Dominic and the head office at the Wildlife Trust. And the situation stands at the moment. Last year when they announced that there was no more vaccine, we held a meeting with the DEFRA officials at the head office in Newark. And one of the things that we pushed for and asked for was to be able to source the vaccine from another company. It was eventually refused by the ministers because they said that it hadn't been tested on badgers at Woodchester Park here over a 4-year period, which is what the Denmark vaccine has gone through. So that's the reason why we sourced that vaccine from that company. It's been tested on the badgers here. So that was put a block on. No, you can't do that. Everybody's licences were suspended until further notice. DEFRA have now come back to us nearly a year later and said that they will not stop us now from sourcing vaccine from other countries. So it's took 12 months to go back to where we were in the first place. We've pushed and pushed and pushed at every single meeting to be able to do this. So we have been successful in one respect, but it's took us a long time. So basically, if anybody's running a BEV scheme, which is the Edge Area scheme, your vaccine would have been paid for by DEFRA. However, that's the bit we're still very unsure about. All the correspondence that I've had, and bearing in mind I only got this reply on Wednesday, sort of 3 days before the conference, I've sent it to Dominic and Tom to see what their thoughts are on it. I've deciphered what I can out of it, but they've done what the MPs do and not given us a proper answer. I still don't know whether they are going to pay for vaccine if we try and source it from other companies. I've got a feeling they'll say no to it because there is still a will shortage in some countries. So I'm not sure as yet what's going to happen with the edge areas. One thing people could try and do is to pay for it themselves, but then, it's at more added cost. So for an edge area, it's still a little bit unsure. If you are paying for it, or if your landowners are paying you to do the vaccination programme, there's nothing to stop you now from going to your vet and asking for the special certificate that you will have to get a vaccine from another country, and you can only do that through your vet. I've not yet spoken to our vets to know whether we'll be able to do it. I don't think it will be a problem because we've already had the conversation. However, it still might not happen because we might get blocked by the Veterinary Association. I don't know. If DEFRA do get back to us come April time, when the new proposals should go out, I'm still going to ask if they will pay like they have done this year and last year. Initially, when the BEV schemes were first set up, DEFRA gave 50% to any badger group or organisation that was running badger vaccination. This year, well, with some great help for us certainly, because we've got the National Trust involved in Derbyshire, that body was able to push this year. We didn't agree for the new proposal for 50%. We said, it's your doing, we're in this mess because you've put us in this mess, so we want 75%, and they gave us that. So all the wildlife trusts that are involved in a BEVS area got 75% this year. So we've still gone out because we thought it was so important. If we were to cease doing anything to do with badger vaccination in this country with landowners and farmers who have agreed to do it, and then we didn't go out and do anything and had any interaction with those farmers, I am sure a lot of them would have pulled out. So we pushed DEFRA to say it's really important that we keep that process going. We still want, we're a volunteer-led programme. We now have 73 volunteers on our books in Derbyshire. So we wanted those volunteers to still be out and be active. So we've been out this year and we've basically done everything apart from get up on the half two in the morning, 3 in the morning to go and vaccinate badgers. All the other processes we've done. We've kept traps back to do training with traps. We've pre-baited sets. We've had all the volunteers out surveying. We carried on surveying throughout the whole of the summer period, just to be, to keep them out there doing it. We've done some camera work, and the 75% has gone into helping us to do that and buy a bit more new equipment. So when we come to do the new proposal again in April, May this year, DEFRA are now saying that we will have to try and convince the ministers to purchase the vaccine from different countries, and I am not sure it's going to happen. I don't think they will agree to it. I think they will make us... George Eustace has basically said he won't stop us from sourcing it from other places. They won't stand in our way, but I think they'll make us put the cost up for it. So that's going to be quite damaging. I know certainly for Nottinghamshire Wildlife Trust, I don't think that will be possible for them. I think they will struggle to do it. We've got in Derbyshire, BEVS area, but we've also got work that we do for a big area in 5 other different places that we pay for out of a pot of money that the Wildlife Trust did some fundraising 2 years ago. It only took us, believe it or not, around 9 months to get together £54,000 off the public to vaccinate badgers in Derbyshire. So that just shows you, the public, if you can do this crowdfunding or get involved with your local wildlife trust, maybe do some funding, fundraising for you. But it seems that is what the public want. They don't want badger culling in areas where they might expand to. We've obviously got the chance of that happening next year. They seem to be doing a lot of carcass testing in the edge areas and around those edge areas. That's possibly to see what the level is in badgers so that they can then come into those areas to cull. So we've got that added fear next year, certainly for Paul and Sandra in Staffordshire and ourselves in Derbyshire and on the borders in Nottinghamshire. We've had a massive influx of farmers and landowners ringing up asking for badger vaccination this year, more so than any other year. And that's because it's so out there in the public domain now through media, things that people are doing. And we did the Ben Fogel programme in Edale, which was a massive thing for us. That just projected us to another level. So we're finding that there's more and more landowners disagreeing with the badger cull and wanting badger vaccination as another alternative. And you'd be surprised how many landowners say to you, if I say, why have you rung us and why do you want badger vaccination? It's more often than not the same thing as what we're saying. It's to protect the wildlife from picking it up in the first place. It's not because they see it as something, to prevent that they think the badgers have got TB in the first place. It's a preventative measure. which is what we promote all the time. So in Derbyshire this year, because we've been inundated with people, and unfortunately it has to be the year that I can't do anything because I can't offer any vaccine to anybody, we've still gone and surveyed those farms and said as soon as the availability of vaccine becomes available to us, we will get to those people as soon as possible, because these landowners and farmers that want our help are the people we should be going to straight away. The National Trust are a massive organisation. If they want badger vaccination, they can pay for it because they can afford it. But these farmers and landowners, yes, I know some people say they have more money than what we think they have, but there are a lot of hard-working farmers out there who can't afford. They will offer to pay towards peanuts, or they'll offer to pay towards some other part of the vaccination scheme. So if you can get them to do that, do it. But it's those people that we really need to be helping. We're just setting up, I'm just in the middle, Paul Keeling from Staffordshire Badger Group, we met a farmer maybe 4 or 5 months ago who rang us up begging us to get there, and he'd gone 60 days clear. He wanted us in there so that we could do the badgers, and so everything as he put it on his farm would remain clean. We went to see him. We obviously couldn't help him out, however he's still on the books. He's not only offered to help us with the actual pre-baiting and things, but he wants to become a vaccinator and be trained. He will vaccinate the badgers on his own land, but he will also come out with us and vaccinate in other areas, and that's a beef farmer. We're going to get another group together, which means we'll have 4 different teams going in Derbyshire. Hopefully me and Paul are going to be setting up another team which will work on this Staffordshire, Derbyshire boundary area. The NFU, I went to see this farmer with Paul, and 2 days after I'd been there, the NFU rang me and asked me what I was doing. And I said, mind your own business, it's nothing to do with you. So they were quizzing on why we were driving down there and speaking to people, and it's because it's what they call a hotspot area, and they want as many farmers signing up for the cull. We've got in there, hopefully. Paul's really successfully managed to get 4 farmers signed up on his behalf. We've got this chap, Stuart, who wants to vaccinate himself, and we're going to get Jill Dyson and Fred Dyson, who are really active within that area, out with Paul to go and get another couple, 2 or 3 on board, and then we will take that area. So that's what the NFU are doing, it's about that we've got in there first. So that's about where we're up to, really. We'll have to just see how it plays out with the vaccine side of things, but over the next few months, that's what I'll be working on, seeing whether it's going to be possible for any vets to be able to get it, and if we can, I will make sure everybody knows about it, and if anybody needs to know the process of how to go about it, feel free to ring me, email me, and I'll try and guide as many people as possible down the right routes of doing it.
Sort of covering some of this from the political side. Do you want to sort of tell us any more?
Thanks. Well, it's a huge congratulations to Debbie for persisting with this. Tom Langton, I'm working as a volunteer on the secretarial side of Eurobadger, which I think some of you were in Colchester heard me talk about the ideas. Well, be careful what your ideas are because you get given a job. And I've spent much of the last year. Vaccination has been one of the strands that we've been looking at, and as many of you know, there's a noise now in the Republic of Ireland to move from badger culling to badger vaccination. And this has been on our radar really since the end of last year, when the government announced the suspension of use of BCG from SSI in Denmark. And it's really been, without going too much into the politics, it looks a little bit like a fabrication, because even by June of this year, the government was importing vaccine for humans from outside the Danish supply chain. So it was obviously on their mind. And in fact, a conversation I had in January after the first meeting of Eurobadger, when we met in Brussels, it was quite clear that you can the vaccine is not really in short supply at all, and that what was meant was really that there's enough to go around, and that the international supply of BCG vaccine was really in short supply for stockpiling. So all of the World Health programs where TB vaccine was required worldwide were being satisfied. Many of the other manufacturers in Bulgaria and India had seen the business opportunities in May of last year and started to put on production lines. So it was all getting a very bit strange. There really wasn't a world shortage that the DEFRA were talking about. And so that instinctively made us dig a bit deeper. We found that I spoke to Public Health England, and they said, well, really, go do what we do for humans and go and source it from outside. You just need a vet to do that. It was very hard to find anybody who knew any vets who were willing to make the application. And in fact, it wasn't until September, when the credit must go to Dominic here, he got us in with Paul Monahan, who's coming tomorrow, SNP, extremely good, active MP. He won a Westminster debate, which was held on the 7th of September. And without going into the details of that debate, some of you may have watched it online, but as we came out of the debate, Dominic, using all the nous and experience that he has, literally pinned George Eustace to the side of the steps and engaged him just a minute, Minister, and luckily dragged us into a discussion about this. And we said, well, hey, hang on a minute, what's going on? And then we followed it up the next day with a long Eurobadger letter saying, this just isn't consistent. If you're really concerned about TB in cattle and TB in badgers, why haven't you solved the problem, as you have done with humans? And the letter to Debbie on the 11th of October, through her MP, is full of sort of can't do anything, still a massive world problem, we can't help you. But with our subsequent follow-up letter, we got out of George Eustace a reply which was sat on. We actually only just got it last week, and I'll read you quickly the paragraph. We are looking, so this is George Eustace to me, 27th of October. We are looking at whether or not importation of an unauthorised vaccine for badgers will be legally and operationally possible in 2017. There is a process for this, but it allows vets to prescribe an unauthorised product for animal welfare reasons only, where there is no alternative. So very similar to the human situation. At the present time, we have no plans to procure any unauthorised vaccine for our own purposes. We would not be able to continue to import unauthorised vaccine, which is similar but not the same as the authorised vaccine, once supplies of the latter become available. Our view is that it is better to wait before considering any future support for what will be needed to be multi-annual vaccination, but if legal importation of unauthorised vaccine by others is possible, we would not stand in their way. So what I take that to mean is that if you want vaccine for a 4-year project and you want to use the same stuff, wait to see if we can fix the Danish supply next year. If you don't, we're not going to stand in your way. I find stand in your way an extraordinary thing to say. This is someone who's supposed to be in charge of leading the, talk about every tool in the box. Where's the government policy on vaccine supply? They've treated it with disdain. There was no real shortage in my view. There was an option they could take, and they didn't take it, despite the fact that the demand was clearly being made. I think where this leaves us is very important, I think, for the Badger Trust and other organisations now to go through their vets, perhaps senior vet experienced with importing vaccines from abroad, knows the legislation, knows the law, get on with the applications. You may need some advice on whether or not it's a good idea to switch brands midstream. In other words, if you're going to vaccinate, whether it matters whether you change from say, the Bulgarian Canadian supply back to the Danish supply after year 2 or year 3. That's a call you might need to make. But I would say get on with it on the basis that you're asking in theory as to whether you can get hold of it or not. I think the other legal question perhaps is, can you keep using it once the alternative supply comes on board if it's a sustained treatment? Is the minister right here? Can you not? Would you have to switch to the other, back to the other brand? If you look at Public Health England reassurances to humans with regard to using alternative BCG supplies worldwide, they say absolutely no problem. There's a whole page on YouGov saying you can be injected with supply from outside the EU, or from Bulgaria. It's exactly the same stuff. We're not, it's not authorised, but it'll be okay. So what's good for humans surely is good for badgers. So I think we go for it, and it may be important, and Dominic, we're going to talk about this later on, it may well be that we need public pressure to be brought to bear in order to actually shift public opinion to get the vaccine flowing for next year. And how that's actually done, I don't know, but there must be a lot of organisations such as National Trust, Wildlife Trusts, who can now get on board this solution and push it as hard as possible, particularly over a period when a lot of people, bear in mind in December, we may be getting some sort of new policy for 2017. We want those farmers that Debbie's talking about who are thinking about the vaccination over culling to be thinking there's a possibility next year to carry on. Whether it's SSI's Danish supply or whether it's the alternative, we need to make sure people realise that there is vaccination on the cards next year. And if the government won't pay for it, I think that's a matter of public interest, and I think there should be petitions, whatever. I think there needs to be demand coming from just about everybody possible to say, look, if you're not going to pay for it, we'll raise it. But surely, to goodness, there's a good use of public funds in BTB and wildlife, it's vaccination. So that's
I think it's very helpful, both what Debbie and Tom has said. I think there's a number of questions we've got to get answers to, but I think next week the Badger Trust will be making, I've already sort of briefed farming today, they're going with this on Monday anyway, because I spoke to them yesterday on the basis of this correspondence. And I said that, if they are going to allow vets to give approval to bring non-approved vaccines in, then we'll get on and do it. But there should be no question of public funds being used to cover the cost of this, because this is a tool in the box. It's the EDGE scheme. It was established with Treasury money. We all sat around that table with George Eustace 2 years ago, getting that framework agreed, of volunteer labour from Badger Trust groups, the National Trust, Wildlife Trust, getting them trained, getting those people into the fields with this equipment. So there should be no question that public money needs to be used here again. But I think we've got them over a barrel now, to be honest. I think they will have to accept that, we can go through this process. They're not going to stand in our way, and actually some public money will have to be used. The other issue here, of course, is getting that new supply stream back in place. They're saying at the moment they don't think they're going to be able to do it until maybe September next year, when really we need it in spring of next year. So we're just going to have to push like mad with the Wildlife Trust, with the National Trust, all coming together. We are a powerful force to get that job done. And I hope, we can, I spoke to Rachel about it from the Shadow Environment side. We'll work with Paul and the EFRA Select Committee. We've got plenty of allies, I think, in Westminster that can jump up and down for this one. And it's a victory, we can win it. And I would say, well done to Debbie, well done to Tom, because the perseverance. Despite the size of the Wildlife Trust and their money, and despite the size of the National Trust and their money, there is no one, I'm afraid, working at a senior level in these organisations pursuing this agenda in the same way that we are here. So these two individuals have moved mountains, so great work, and we will really capitalise on that. So we will keep fighting to get this resolved and start vaccinating badgers again. So thank you.